That's another one that I had written earlier. It's a walking bass line, and I just wrote a song about walking around.
Let's get up and walk around, son. Ain't no telling what we'll find. Feel much better once we found some. Nobody gotta know, ain't nobody gonna mind.
Nothing that he does sounds like his other thing. Like, oh, he's really a singer, but he also plays organ. Like, I can't think of anything that he does where it's that thing he also does. He plays organ like a real organ player. He kicks pedals. In every way, he's a real organ player, and he's a great piano player. He'll sit down and he can whip out Chopin preludes and stuff, and also play jazz and all kinds of styles on it. And he's a great singer, and he's a great songwriter. It's really hard to put it across. You kind of almost have to be in the room and see and hear and feel what he's doing. Because if you say, oh yeah, this guy, he writes these great songs and he sings his ass off and he plays organ, I think people are kind of like, okay, yeah, that's cool. But then I have to grab him by the shirt and say, no, you don't understand. Like, if you saw this, you would freak out. Like, he's a heavy person.
The thing about Adam that anybody who works with him knows is that he's very quiet and kind of speaks very, very gently and has a kind of a reserved, non-aggressive personality. But the man has an agenda. He definitely has ideas about what he'd like to hear, and he will get them heard. Man, it's if you do what he's thinking of, it sounds great.
In the weeks before the record, Charlie and I went back and forth about who would play on the record. And I know some musicians in Memphis. So, I mentioned the names of people that I knew. And he knew, we were just kind of throwing names back and forth and trying to find basically just a versatile group as a core group that we could build around if we wanted to. But, we needed a drummer who had the same kind of depth of understanding of different styles that Charlie has. So if we do something jazzy, it has to really sound like jazz. And if we do something groovy, it has to be a real groove to it. And if we do something that's a rocker, it has to really rock. And not everybody can do all those things. But Charlie said, oh, Tom Leonardo could do all those things, no problem. And the same thing with Sam Shoop. I'd never met him, but I'd heard his name before. I know people that he plays with. And we were looking for somebody who could play upright bass and electric bass, play different styles, and be open too. That's the thing, is I knew coming in I was going to give the bassist and drummer very specific direction about how to do things. And if anybody came in who couldn't be open to suggestion, then it was going to be a really hard session. As luck would have it, I saw Tom and Sam play together the night before we started tracking. They were playing with Mose Allison over at Automatic Slims. So I got to get a little taste of what they do. And I got to meet them and see what their personalities were like, and that was really cool. So that wound up being the core of the band, is Sam Shoop and Tom Leonardo. And early on, I told Charlie I didn't want to play guitar on the record. I said, we'll have to find you a guitar player, because I don't want to run back and forth between, one side of the glass and the other. But as it turned out, I could actually be in the room with the musicians anytime I needed to be. I think there's only one or two things that I just left out and had to play later. And those were hard, because there was such a good vibe in the room. It's like being Laura Dern in Jurassic Park or something, and you just have to react to the Tyrannosaurus Rex. That's what overdubbing is like to me. You somehow have to react to the Tyrannosaurus Rex, even though you're just in a little air-conditioned room. It's hard to do. So in as much as I could, I played with the band. And that also helps me be part of what happens musically. Like there's some things I can say to a drummer, and there's some things that when I play without saying anything, that communicates what I'm trying to get at. So it wound up being good to be part of the band. But I've never done that before. I've always been on one side of the glass or the other.
Last rays of sunlight die, full moon begins to rise, reflected in your eyes.
I imagine in Elvis's version, he had a bit of a Memphis soul thing in mind, but it's still more like a rock band playing that feel. And I thought, well, we could really make it a little more of that feel and make it more personal to Charlie. And I think in Charlie's case, he captured the electricity of the Elvis version, but just in the instrumentation of it, the way he plays the piano on it and his organ stuff on it, you wouldn't mistake it one for the other. And I wanted to have a power. He sings so big on it and so bold that I just wanted a little more muscle around it, and the horns seem to be a way to do that. So we brought in 4 horns, trumpet, 2 tenors, and trombone, and it's pretty huge sounding, actually.
Place everything rotten, fascinated and uptight, make me shout out loud, make me cry all day and night, make me cry all day and night. Whatever happened to the song? A pretty melody, so happy souls can hum along.
Well, my favorite original of Charlie's on the record is a song. We captured a take that wasn't supposed to be a take. We were just rehearsing. So there's a very spontaneous thing between the bass and drums and Charlie. At one point they stop, and then when they start up again, it takes them just a millisecond to all get together, and it's just so honest and so true. Like that's how it would really be. My favorite cover on the record is Not Too Big, this Ron Sexsmith song. Our arrangement's not all that different from Ron's, but Tom did the coolest thing on the drums. It just sounds so funky. He recorded it where you would normally play the hi-hat on the steady eighth notes and then play the snare drum on beats 2 and 4 with a maraca in one hand and a stick in the other hand, instead of a hi-hat. So there's no hi-hat on the drum track. But then he went back and overdubbed a hi-hat. But because he's overdubbing it, he can put all his attention on the hi-hat, which a drummer really can never do because they have so much other stuff to do. And then when you hear the whole thing together, of course, it's something that would be impossible for any one person to play. But because it's all Tom Leonardo playing it, you feel like it's one person because the phrasing is all together. And it's a fun song, and I think it's the kind of song that when you hear it, you think, oh, that must be a lost soul classic, but it's not. It's a modern song, and Charlie just sings on and he plays great on it. The track came, I don't know, I just feel like that track has a lot of electricity to it in a way that makes you want to move.
All this